What's up, everybody? Woodward Bet Show here today at the Woodward Sports Network. I'm G Rise, and we got Detroit Beastie with us. What is going on, Chris? I just got back from Miami, so I missed you guys for 4 days. What's been going on? You guys been holding down the fort, I see, and I do appreciate everything all you guys did in my absence. But what's going on, my friend?
Yeah, we did pretty well, I'd like to think, in your absence here, but the show must go on. You're one of the anchors. You and Beer are the anchor, and I'm just like the dinghy or the buoy coming up the rear side here. But anytime at Woodward and you guys reach out and say, hey, Chris, you want to be on? We'll need you, or we'd love to have you. I'm there in a flash. I clear my schedule for Woodward Bets and Woodward Sports.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. I know all the people love having you, and the notes have become a kind of little famous, little funny thing we like to talk about. We'll get to those notes here in a little bit, that's for sure. There they are, the famous notes. But yeah, Chris, so that Miami deal I went to, man, I got to tell you, man, I learned to appreciate $8 beers, my friend. I walked up to that pool bar the first day I was there, and there was 3 or 4 guys there that I knew, and I was being nice. Hey, I'll buy everybody a beer, and shit, man, I got that tab. It was $122 for 5 beers with the tip already included. And I thought, ooh, man, we're gonna have to run across the street to Walgreens and start drinking some beers out of the cooler here. But yeah, Chris, that was something else. But Miami's cool, pretty cool place. Had a pretty nice view of the room where we were at, and hang out and see all the different the skylines and stuff was pretty cool. And then the restaurants are pretty fancy and expensive down there. I think we rolled up a $700 or $800 dinner bill one night. But yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of just being in the warm weather was nice, and at least they'd be able to hop in a pool. We won't be able to do that here for the next 5 or 6 months. But good times down there in Miami, that's for sure. Hanging out with all these high level DFS players, and I mean high level as far as high stakes. You get a lot of these guys, Chris, that have invested like 300K or 400K into their DK, trying to win these DK seats. So there's a lot of money involved, and it's just funny to hear everybody kind of talk about it. And some guys are trying to be quiet and to the vest what they're going to play. And then you get the other guys that will just tell the whole room what they want to do. And then it's just funny to hear the, we'll just call it, the attitude, the egos there kind of get big sometimes. So it is kind of funny, but had a good time down there. I was glad I went. Buddy finished in 48th place, which was not too bad out of 200. Ended up going home with 40K, but I think we drank half of that at the pool that day. But either way, Chris, I was just looking at some notes and some news here when I was gone, and damn, COVID is just running wild through all these sports this time, at this point. So I know your favorite sport is hockey, and I was looking here, Chris, what do we got, like 8 games so far or something tonight that were just canceled due to COVID. I think we were supposed to have a 10-game slate tonight. We only got 2 games left. It looks like 8 of the 10 were postponed. So definitely a concern there. It sounds like there might be some current concerns in the NBA as well. But the good thing COVID did, Chris, now we've had football, Thursday? We had football Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, skip a day Wednesday, Thursday, and we're back to Saturday, Sunday. So, hey, if you're an NFL fan, it's beautiful, but the rest of the sports here are struggling.
No doubt. And just to rewind, I don't want to bring the show to a screeching halt, but me and Beer man, Chris Prince, we talked about your $18 beer, per beer tab in Modelo's in length on the Saturday morning show. We were live, I believe, right at about 9:00, and we covered some college football, the bowl games. Come to find out, Jimmy Kimmel has a bowl named after him. I think it's all horse crap. It's if you got enough money, we could probably get in a Woodward Sports Bowl around here somewhere. We can, petition and have it in Canton. I don't know where the heck you'd want it, but I've noticed one thing in the last like 4 or 5 days you've been gone. I've been with Beer, the majority. We've gotten close, we've gotten tight, and hey, he loves to make fun of you, and you love to make fun of him. It's a great dynamic, and I'd like to think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like tonight, I'm with you, so we can rip on Beer. Tomorrow, you might not be here, and I'll be with Beer, and then we can make fun of you. So I just get in where I fit in, right? I'm that wild wild card. I can make fun of anybody at any given time in any given place. So that's how I look at my role here at Woodward Bets. I'm just the roving kind of joker here. I'll rip on you, you rip on, we just go back and forth. So I've kind of settled into my role, which I've just made up here on the spot.
Hey, whatever works for you, it's your story. You tell it how you want. But, the way I look at it is, yeah, you got to have some fun, right? You got to have some fun. I know, them guys, you guys like poking fun of me, especially Spencer behind the glass. I'm sure that drunk bear came up once or twice while I was in Miami. And I will say Friday night, that was definitely me. That's for sure. But I was laying under a palm tree. But yeah, that Friday night was rough, man. Those bars out there are open till like 6 a.m. or something, Chris. That's not good when you start drinking in the sun at the pool at like 11 in the morning or something like that. So it was a long, long day. I'm too old for that shit, man. I can't handle those 3 or 4 days in a row. But man, I'll tell you what, Chris, another news that I did see that I like to see was Max Crosby. Man, I'm a Max Crosby fan. I been a fan of Eastern here. Daughter played soccer with Eastern Michigan's head coach, so had a few conversations with him, and that was about the time Max was leaving. He told me Max is going to be a really good NFL player, probably make a Pro Bowl one time, and here he is, man, made a Pro Bowl. So congratulations to Max. Congratulations to the rest of the Eastern Michigan football team. I know that's big for a mid-level university to have such a guy representing you at your school. So Max, congratulations. Really glad to see that. So hopefully those will continue to come here. But one other thing too, Chris, I wanted to bring up, which I thought was funny, was traveling around Twitter. And I know you're a hockey guy, but man, did you see your boy Dylan Larkin, what he did with the beer behind the net there in warmups? Did you catch that?
I did. Yeah, he spilt a beer and then he paid for the guys. But the one thing I'm not understanding here, because I heard it, we were in a group text. You pull back the curtain a little bit. So this was like 10 minutes before we started to broadcast here this evening. And I went and looked through it. I don't know if Dylan Larkin actually gave the guy cash, gave him a $20 bill, or he had someone, in the concourse level bring him down a beer. But it's pretty cool. He's our captain. I mean, he's the man. First career hat trick a couple days ago, which was blew my mind that he's never had a hat trick here. But yeah, Larkin is absolutely one of my favorite players here in the entire state of Detroit. Well, state of Michigan, city of Detroit.
Yeah, we knew what you meant. But yeah, it was cool. He went practice. He kind of bumped into the glass there, and the dude had his beer on the end of the, right there on the glass, and it spilled over. And what he did was he felt bad. He was telling a couple teammates, man, I feel bad. I spilled that dude's beer. And then he actually went over to the bench and called the locker room guy over, locker room assistant, and asked him if he's got his wallet on him. Did he have $20 to if he could go run over and take it to the dude behind the glass there for him? So that's what happened. The locker room attendant guy actually ran over and ended up giving the guy $20. So how cool is that, man? You're sitting there, get your beer dumped. But Chris, the way I look at it, if that dude's sitting in the front row behind the net anyway, it probably didn't matter to him that $20 beer, that beer spilt. He didn't care, but pretty cool gesture by our captain. I mean, they're right there. That's how you win the Lady Bing Award.
No doubt. Yeah.
Gentlemanly player. I mean, that's how you win that award. That's for sure.
Yeah. Kissing babies, paying for spilt drinks. I mean, yeah, that's what you do to win the Lady Bing. And I just want to say, right, given everything that's going on in today's society, and look, I know this is a sports betting show, and Woodward Sports is about local teams here. So I'm not going to get into anything political or religion wise, but to me, deep down, to me, that's what professional sports is about. The fans interacting with the players. A lot of people, I've been guilty of it myself. A lot of people place these professional athletes on such a pedestal, like there's an aura around them. They're bigger than God. I mean, Jesus could come down from heaven right now and people will go, hey, how many followers you got on social? Like, if you don't have 100K followers, then I'm going to go in this direction to this chick who TikToks and everything. So to me, you're creating like this avenue of everybody's getting along in terms of the professional athletes and the fans. I believe it's all about being approachable, being accessible, and being approachable. And I know a lot of folks here at Woodward Sports are the same way. You can walk up to Ryan Ermani, Braylon Edwards, they'll shake your hand and say hi. I mean, they're all just human beings. Granted, they've been given a position. play college football, professional sports. Armani's on the news all the time on Fox 2. Tom Mazaway, he's a local legend. I look at Mazaway as this big aura here, but we talk Bomarito's Bakery all the time. We're just human beings. So to me, when Larkin gives the guy $20, from his wallet here, that's what I like to see. I mean, those are the stories you want to see. They get to take a puck to the face and they get their teeth knocked out. I mean, that's all fun and dandy, but how about, when you see a skater give a stick to a young kid, that kid is going to be a fan of hockey and the player that gave him the stick forever. That's what professional sports should be about in my eyes.
Yeah, you say about getting a stick, Chris. I mean, when I was a kid, you ever heard of Reed Larson? I mean, that's how young I mean, I was a little kid and I was standing there by the where the players walk in, and Reed Larson handed me a stick of his that he had, and instantly I was a fan. I mean, I've been a fan of the Red Wings ever since, but you might be right. That might have contributed to the reason why I always did pay attention to the Wings. It was one of my first loves as a sport other than baseball, but yeah, that definitely had a big part to play. But Chris, I got to bring it up, man. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, where did that game take place? Was it at like Briggs Stadium or the original Olympia way before Joe Louis was even built?
Listen here, buddy. I saw you on Twitter with Maz where you were talking about that Jets and Lions game, and you said 1997. I'm in 7th grade, and I tweeted a picture of my ticket stub, and I started doing the math. I'm thinking, damn, I was 25, maybe 26 at that time. Damn. I'm old, but
in all honesty, Scott, sorry to cut you off. In all honesty, I'm not kidding here. When I look at you, I swear to God, I almost assume every time we're the same age. I literally think you're like 40, 42. And I'm not saying this to get on your good side because I'm already there. So there's nothing at risk here for me to really kiss your ass. But seriously, I think you're my age. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I'll be 50 coming up here in May. So I don't know. I think it's the good genes. My mom's she looks really young for her age still too as well. But,
I think it's your cheekbones. Your cheekbones and your jawline is chiseled out. It's chiseled out. Yeah. If you could get a little bit of stubble going and turn to the side, you might be able to be like Brad Pitt's kind of double or stand-in on the movie set with that jawline.
Yeah, I won't get that silly. And there is no stubbles coming on this face. I get it all patchy. I can't grow a beard or any of that shit to save my life. I actually lost the Michigan State bet one time. And I had to grow a beard, and at about 6 weeks, the guy said, just forget it, dude. Just forget it. He let me off the hook. But speaking of bets we lost, man, Chris, what the hell happened to this Monday night game last night with the Bears and the Vikings? I know you were venting a little bit there, but damn, Justin Fields runs in at the end of that game there. And, man, what a way to end that game. That game was, that was just tough to watch. Both those games yesterday sucked, to be honest with you. But, that one was tough to stomach, especially if you bet on the Vikings.
Yeah, no doubt. In the first game, it was on NFL Network, I think, right? I don't know how I found it. Probably using my phone here, and I don't even know. I know NFL's big. Give me 2 seconds here. I know NFL is massive, probably the biggest of all the professional sports in the world here. But I honestly don't know too many people that even bother with NFL Network anymore. And I know when I cut the cord on cable, because I can stream everything, it went away. But that game was outstanding. Vegas playing Cleveland in Cleveland. And what was weird to me is, Nick Mullins, I mentioned in the video with Beer yesterday, I said Nick Mullins might be the cheapest source of 250, 200 passing yards ever in the history of DFS. And this kid, he played well. And if it wasn't for that stupid little touchdown at the end of the game by Fields, Mullins would have been probably, I think, aside from Kirk Cousins. So I should take that back. Nick Mullins was all right. He was my quarterback in both games yesterday. I was doing very good here until that silly touchdown Justin Fields threw. But you got to love, the heart of Vegas. I mean, they looked good for a few games, and then they fell down and they stumbled, and then boom, they come and they kick a field goal in Cleveland. After the kicker kicked it, it was timed out, and then he had to do it again. Normally, that never works out well. Cleveland, that same thing happened to Cleveland, 20 minutes prior here, but Vegas kicking that field goal to win the game in Cleveland was awesome. You love to see it. Now we'll look ahead to Vegas's matchup this coming week. But to me, I wasn't really able to watch the whole thing. As I said, I had it on my phone. I was doing my notes, which you shared in our group chat. I'm glad you liked them. Make fun of them. I don't know. But that Minnesota-Chicago game was awful. And it was all because of the Chicago Bears they're horrible. It's bad news to me, right? In Minnesota, I believe people were putting Minnesota down. Why are you not throttling the Bears? Why is Kirk Cousins not, bombing the ball more? We saw that play. He heaved it up, guy playing center field out there. But I believe Minnesota wasn't even, their heart wasn't even in it, because they knew they could literally beat the Bears with that one arm tied behind their back here. And then that to add, to salt in the wound here, that Fields touchdown. I told you, on air before we went on air here, I was sitting at about $1,300 in winnings. I mean, and there was no time left on the clock. I'm like, hey, this is great. I'll cash out a little bit. I could, how you do when you get some sort of, $1,000+ win on DFS here. And then it was not a touchdown. Then it was a touchdown. And I literally watched, because I had it open, I literally watched it go from like $1,300 to like $400, which I'm not, getting mad about it. I only put in like 50, but hey, $700 points or $700 swing on one useless touchdown is bad news. But hey, that's what you get when you bet on sports and you play DFS.
Yeah, Chris, I can get that. I understand that, man. One time I was in a live final in FanDuel and went and took a piss, and my quarterback threw a pick, and I was in third place in the live final, and I fell down to sixth place, and it cost me $200K, Chris. So I can understand that. That was the most expensive piss I ever took, and I'll never forget that. As soon as I took my eyes off the TV, that crap has happened to me. But that's DFS for you. A lot of fun, especially in these showdown slates, man. It's like, I was talking to a dude who qualified for this DraftKings thing because he was winning, and then he was actually losing by 0.2 of a point, and then they ended up giving a guy a carry on some yards or something, and he ended up getting 2 yards, and he ended up passing the guy by 1/10 of a point or something. He was trying to explain to me, and I was thinking, how mad would you be if you thought you had something locked up and in DFS, and then something like that happens to you? Man, that would be pretty frustrating as hell. But Chris, tonight though, man, we got 2 NFL games tonight that we can talk about. So we got some bonus football on Tuesday. So we got the Seattle Seahawks traveling over to the Rams here. We got the Rams -6.5. Over under is 42 here. Chris, what are you thinking about this game here? Are you going to play any showdowns? Are you going to play the 2-game slate? We got some options we can play today.
I got to be honest with you, and no surprise here, I got a little taste of everything here. Obviously, I have more money involved in both games here. A couple bucks in each single showdown slate or captain mode, however you want to put it. But a majority of my money is in both games, the main slate or however you want to do it here. But when it comes to Seattle at the Rams here, look at this one. Seattle, they're 5-8. They're in 4th place here in the NFC West, going to LA to take on the Rams at that gorgeous SoFi Stadium, who are 9-4. They're in 2nd place, only behind the Arizona Cardinals, if I remember correctly. And briefly, a sidetrack here, the Lions beat Arizona. We know that. I talked about it in length yesterday's show. But still, at this moment in time, Arizona has yet to tweet out or anything on their social media about the final score. And people are seriously still showing up to their front door with pitchforks and flaming torches because they just won't tell us, hey, we lost to the Lions, and boom, we'll move on. It's just making it worse here. But to me, Seattle at the Rams here, when you look at it from a player perspective, from a DFS perspective, right? I think we can get away with fading both quarterbacks here. Matthew Stafford, 16.5 on FanDuel. I keep glancing down because I have my beautiful notes here. I never go into a broadcast unprepared. So Stafford, 16.5 on FanDuel, $12,200 on DraftKings, and then Russell Wilson, $14,000 bucks on FanDuel, $11,000 on DraftKings. And I have a little sneaky bit of trivia here, Scott. Do you know Russell Wilson's middle name?
Do I know Russell Wilson's middle name? Nope, I do not.
It's pretty cool. It's Carrington, Russell Carrington Wilson. I found that fact out yesterday on Pro Football Reference here. But then when we go down, as I said, I think we can get away with fading both quarterbacks. And as you can see, I'm getting a little, not belligerent here, but I'm willing to take more risks tonight with these 2 games, as I told folks I was going to do yesterday, because it's kind of like house's money. We had the main slate on Sunday. We had the games yesterday here. So I'm going to shoot for the fence. I'm going to swing, for the fences here. I'm going to fade both quarterbacks. And I love the idea of using Sony Michel and Rashad Penny in tandem. As I could say, you put Sony Michel in the MVP spot, and then you put Penny at flex, and then vice versa here. I've had a ton of questions. I don't don't know about you or Spence behind the glass there, but a lot of folks are freaking out about Darrell Henderson Jr. in seasonal formats and also in DFS circles tonight here. And again, I'm going out on a limb here, but given the fact that the Rams, they're 9-4 in second place, as I've said here, the Rams and McVay and Stafford, they have Super Bowl aspirations. They're looking to make a deep run in the playoffs. Seattle is a very beatable team. You look at the DVP from start to finish, they can be had here across the board. So I firmly believe, and if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But I do believe that Darrell Henderson, they're going to slow play him here. I don't think he's going to see a normal size workload, because why would you want to burn the guy out right now at this stage of the season? You're just all but locked to make it in the playoffs, and boom, you go from there. So why wouldn't McVay just really run Sony Michel until he can't run any more tonight here? Sony Michel, 10 grand on FanDuel, $9,400 on DraftKings, and then Penny, 11 grand on FanDuel, $8,600 on DraftKings. And then when we get into the wide receivers, I'll leave that be for the time being, because we're going to get into 2 hours in this video if I go over every single play and price point here.
Yeah, I mean, this game here for me, Chris, I like what you said about Michelle. So for me, yeah, they're getting Darrell Henderson back, but we've seen it already with these guys coming back on COVID. They just don't get their normal game log. Henderson also had a thigh injury he was dealing with. So I think people are looking at, especially in some of these books I was looking, man, I really like Sony Michel's over rushing prop. I think it's around 44, 45 or so. I think he's going to be over that. And then his anytime touchdown, Chris, is plus 155. That's something I really like. I do not like Darrell Henderson today. I think you're going to be able to get Sony Michel where people are going to be afraid of him and not play him. So I think there's some great value there with all his prop bets. But yeah, looking at this here, the Rams, so far against the spread, where both teams are pretty close. The Rams are 6-7 against the spread. Seattle is 7-6 against the spread. Only 3 of their 13 games, though, Chris, for Seattle has gone over. So they are 3-10 as far as over-unders. The Rams 7-5-1 as far as over-unders here. But this one here for me, I mean, we got Lockett that's probably not going to play. We have, obviously we have Penny who's going to be in there. So for me, Higbee, I think that is something here we'll have to see. And then Beckham landed on that COVID list as well. So I think that's going to open up for Van Jefferson a little bit. He scored 3 straight games so far this year. So I think Jefferson is interesting as well. And then as far as Seattle goes, I like a little bit of Swain here. I think he is a guy you could look at for Seattle, especially without Lockett. I think they're going to have to use him a little bit more here. So he is a low price guy, that low end receiver that I think may get a little bit extra work today, especially if Lockett's out. But man, Chris, I am all over this Sony Michel. I think that's the best play today as far as any kind of prop bets. And more likely, it's going to end up being one of my bets here at the end of the show here, one of these Sony Michel props. But I really do like that. Now, getting over to this other game here, I think this one here is just not as intriguing, obviously, as the Rams and Seattle here. But we got Washington at Philadelphia. We got Philadelphia. I mean, it started out -3.5 and bumped up to -6.5 here. But 54% of the money at plus 6.5 is in on the Redskins so far. So, Chris, what are you thinking about this one here? Are we going to are the Eagles set up here to get a victory?
I think so, yeah. And it's going to be a lower scoring game. You look at the over-under, as you said, I believe it opened at 43, and it hasn't moved around much from there. And to be honest with you, when I add up my final score points, it's way under, it's even under 35. So if you had the over-under at 35.5, I would still go under here. In this one, what I found odd is, let me get through Jalen Hurts briefly. Washington, they're 32nd overall against opposing quarterbacks here. Jalen Hurts, to me, with Hurts, you're either all in or all out. We know a lot of folks in real life purposes, Jalen Hurts is not the quarterback of the future for the Eagles. He's kind of a use it or lose it in seasonal formats. Same thing with DFS. Every time he plays here, he's 17 grand on FanDuel tonight, $12,200 on DraftKings in the flex spot here. But to me, Hurts is going to go crazy. He's going to run wild, right? Like that old Hulk Hogan thing. I'm sure Spence can get behind that, or even you know, who you going to do when Jalen Hurts runs all over you? I have Hurts. He's not going going to complete a ton of passes. I have like 15, anywhere between 15 or 16 passes here, 170, maybe a buck 80 in yardage in the air. But where he makes his hay, you're looking at 12, 13 carries. I have him for around 70 to 75 yards on the ground. And I do firmly believe Jalen Hurts is responsible for 2 touchdowns here. In which form or fashion, I don't know. But in seasonal formats or in your DFS lines, what does it matter? If they're both on the ground, there's Hogan. One on the ground, one in the air, or 2 on. It doesn't matter which way you slice it. But what I find odd, and this is just me personally here, in terms of the Washington quarterback, Tyler Heineke, I don't think he's going to play. A big red Q next to his name for a while now. He was just recently put on the COVID IR here. So we have who's going to be the quarterback for Washington: Garrett Gilbert, Kyle Schumer, Jordan Tamamwu, I think is how you say his name. And I can honestly say, in all the years I've been betting on sports, all the years I played DFS, I have kind of a roaming projection here. So whoever the quarterback is, I have a projection. It doesn't matter, player A, B, or C here. And that's what I find so odd, if you get what I'm saying here. So firmly believe it's going to be Kyle Schumer. He's the only guy you can find projections on, although I made some on my own here. And I have Kyle Schumer looking at 22, maybe 23 completions, looking at around 240 passing yards. I know that's a little ambitious, but you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, 18th, I believe, against opposing quarterbacks here. Couple carries, nothing crazy. But I think Kyle Schumer here can put one in the end zone, maybe 2 here. So that's the way I'm going. I would prefer Jalen Hurts. And then when we go down, what can you say about Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson? Gibby, to me tonight, is a must-have. I will have plenty of lines with Gibson at my captain or in the MVP spot here. But to me, Jordan Howard has been someone that's been popping up for a few days now in all my research, in the optimizers that I use, and we go from there. Jordan Howard, Michigan State alumnus, I think is how you say it. Jordan Howard, 10 grand on FanDuel, only $200 on DraftKings. I have Howard 7-8 carries, 30, maybe 40 yards, and if he can find the end zone for $200 on DraftKings, I mean, that's already 4 times the value here. And one more guy aside from Scary Terry, Dallas Goedert, Terry McLaurin does not carry an injury designation in here, so I'm looking at 9-10 targets for Terry. But I want to mention the Washington tight ends in this one. Philadelphia, awful. They're dead last, 32nd against opposing tight ends here. So Ricky Seals-Jones, I believe it's going to be kind of a pregame thing. We're going to warm up and see what he can do here. He is 7-5 on FanDuel, only $4,600 on DraftKings. And John Bates, $6 grand on FanDuel, only $2,000 on DraftKings. Throughout this season is when I've been with you guys here. I've made no secret about my love for tight ends on a single game slate, and I'm not shying away from that now. If Ricky Seals-Jones is active, I could see a vice versa case here where I put Ricky Seals-Jones in the MVP, John Bates at the flex, and then we flip them around. So I will have exposure to both Washington tight ends in this game to go along with Jalen Hurts, little Gibson, little bit of Jordan Howard, and boom, we're off and running. And one more player, if I may, DeAndre Carter, Washington wide receiver here. Another guy who's just been popping up in everything that I've done in advance of this game here. DeAndre Carter, $6,500 on FanDuel, only $4,800 on DraftKings. Looking at 4 or 5 targets, 3, maybe 4 receptions here. Not a ton of yardage, but again, at his price tag on both sites, if he finds the end zone, boom, one play, and you're looking at an explosion of value for me with him tonight. So that's how I'm looking at it. I have Philly to win this game outright, 17-14-ish, but I do think then Washington will cover here, getting, I believe, as you mentioned, 6.5. I booked mine at plus 7.5.
Yeah, I think Hurts is in a pretty good spot. I mean, just kind of looking at these Redskins, I think they got 9 players on defense who are on the COVID IR. So that's definitely concerning for sure, as we know. But it's going to limit how much, I think if you get a running game going here with all these Philadelphia running backs, and I'm going to save you a little bit here from all those Indiana fans. Jordan Howard went to Indiana. He wasn't a Sparty. But, yeah, I think you mentioned Howard was a Sparty there. I thought, oh, boy, Chris is going to get bombarded by all them Indiana Hoosier fans. But, yeah, Howard was pretty good over there. I actually had him in some college season-long leagues a few years back. But, Chris, I think Jordan Howard for me is another guy that I like his touchdown prop tonight. It's plus 330 to score a touchdown. He's the guy I think they like to give to on the goal line. I know he's had a couple knee issues, but I really think he's the guy that I'd look at as another touchdown prop to go with Sony Michel. But just kind of looking around here too. I mean, I do like what you're saying about the tight ends. Philadelphia is dead last against tight ends here, so don't mind that at all. And this is a big game for both these teams. They're both 6-7, and both of them here have all division games left here. They both have 4 division games. They play each other twice, and then they each get the Giants and Dallas here that end it off. So Philadelphia has not been very good at home. They're 1-4 at home. So, but I just think here in this spot with all these injuries Washington has, I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for them to handle. But Gibson's a guy I do like. I'm not really sure with McKissick yet. I don't think he's going to get in there today with that concussion issue he's had. And then Gibson, even though his shin injury has been kind of bothering his volume, I still like for him to fall in the end zone today as well. But I'm with you, Chris. I think the under here is a pretty good play. Seems to be a little too high. My projections are about a touchdown below what this line is here, the over 41. I think it's going to be 20 to 14 or so. Somewhere around there would be my prediction. But yeah, I think this Washington-Philadelphia game, Chris, if you have normal TV, this one is not on the networks. I think you can only find it if you have the NFL ticket, from what I'm understanding. So I think this Seattle and Rams game is going to be on Fox. But should be interesting there. Well, we might have a few bets here at the end of the show for that one. But, Chris, we also got some NBA tonight. And I know you're not all that much of an NBA guy, but I'd like to get in them streets and mix it up a little bit with some NBA DFS. But tonight we do have one game postponed. That Washington and Brooklyn game got postponed. But we still do have 5 other games that we can look at. So just kind of looking here at some over-unders in some of these games here to look at which ones have the high over-under. You got 223 in this Phoenix and Laker game. All the other ones around 215, 218, with the low being this Piston and the Knicks game. So obviously you're going to get quite a few plays from that high total there. But just kind of looking here, obviously injuries are always the big part of the situation that you definitely need to pay attention to. So on the questionable list, the Knicks, Derrick Rose is questionable. Miami Heat, you got Tyler Hero is questionable. For Portland, you got Damian Lillard is questionable, and so is Porzingis for the Mavericks. We'll have to keep our ears to the ground with that. And then obviously the T-Wolves are going to be without 3 key pieces here, Edwards, Beverly, and Vanderbilt. So I think Prince and Ogie is a pretty good guy you might be able to look at to possibly get those minutes. But, man, Karl Anthony Towns and Russell are 2 guys that I might want to look at getting in my lineup for sure. But, yeah, Chris, is there anything here that maybe stands out to you? Any kind of low price plays that you're looking at, or anything you want to add to some basketball here?
Yeah, as I'm looking through, obviously, when it comes to DFS, baseball, basketball, hockey, or whatever, I have a couple tricks here, and I'm sure you know about it too. Optimizers are becoming all the happenings here when it comes to DFS, and throughout the years, I've kind of used all this information in terms of DVP and price points and stuff, and I've kind of started to make my own optimizer in a way. It's been long and exhausting. I haven't asked for any help from anybody, but I'm starting to put it together. I would never put it out in the public because it's just kind of works for me, and I don't know how to tell other folks how to do it here. But when I look at what I have going on for basketball tonight, I love the idea of a couple Pistons here, actually 3 of them. Killian Hayes at point guard against the Knicks here. He's only $4,200 on FanDuel. And then Cade Cunningham, your rookie of the year prediction here, point guard / shooting guard, at least on FanDuel here, $7,700 on FanDuel. And then I also love Sadiq Bey here, again, playing in New York, shooting small forward. He's only $5,200 here, and a trio of Indianapolis Pacers are popping up as well. 2 of them are under $6,500, and that's Karis LeVert, Miles Turner, and then you got to run it back with Domantas Sabonis, power forward center here, $9,000 on FanDuel. And when you look at the Miami Heat, who the Pacers are playing, they're 25th overall against opposing power forwards and center. And last time I looked, Scott, Sabonis is getting some legit minutes here. I had a friend tell me years ago when I first got into NBA DFS, he said, if it's between a couple players here, who plays the most minutes? Like if you can find a guy cheap that plays, 27, 28 minutes, he's your guy. If this same person plays over 30 minutes a game, boom, you got to lock it in here. And I believe, if I remember correctly, LeVert, Turner, and Sabonis are their starters, and they play a ton of minutes here. So they're facing a Miami Heat team who, last I looked, I don't think Tyler Hero is going to play tonight. This kid gets his hands and his mitts and everything here. So I love the idea of not only a bet here, Detroit to beat the Knicks here, but also the Pacers to just absolutely roll the Miami Heat here. And I'm kind of parlaying it into some DFS selections as well. Hopefully that was coherent. Hopefully that made some sense as I talked NBA DFS on the fly.
Oh, always good. I'll bring up a couple guys. You mentioned these optimizers, Chris, and I actually had this conversation with some of my DFS buddies. I mean, I literally have 6 to 7 of these optimizers that are pay sites, and I'll bounce it around, maybe throw my cores in, mix up some minutes and some projections, and come up with some stuff. And what I like it for is you basically can get an idea of a core that the computer likes, and then you'll see some other guys, low price guys, that maybe each site is predicting, but some of them aren't up to date with what's going on. Like, you might see Blake Griffin, a guy who's really cheap, and all of a sudden you see him popping all these optimizers, but the computer doesn't realize he's been recently benched. So, kind of situations like that. I'm not saying that's exactly the case, but I'm just saying, at times you may run into a guy who just hasn't been playing well and he ends up sitting on the bench. So, yeah, I like to bounce it around a little bit between them all and come up with something. But just kind of bouncing around. Alex Burks against the Pistons. He's 5,600 on FanDuel. He's a guy that is popping pretty much everywhere. And then Jalen Noel for Dallas is another guy, 4,000. He's a guy that is also popping. Devin Booker is a guy here against the Lakers in that high over-under game, as we mentioned. Miles Turner, Karis LeVert, as you mentioned, another couple guys there. We'll have to keep our eye on Lillard, but that's a guy that I'd be looking at against New Orleans. But, yeah, NBA, you got to keep your ear to the ground here. I know we got an hour or so before lock, so if you're in that NBA circle, just make sure you are paying attention to all the news. You get that guy that's out in the last 10 minutes, you got to be able to make adjustments there and get some of them low-price guys there in your lineups to be able to get ahead. But NBA, we'll probably have some more bets here at the end of the show. But Chris, let's talk about a couple of these injuries in the NFL that we talked about. So I know, here we got some season-long leagues. Everybody's in the playoffs here. At this point here, if you made it through, congratulations. You should be in round 2 and on the doorstep of getting into your fantasy finals. So again, congratulations. But here they are up on the screen. We got Aguilar ended up with a concussion there sometime around the third quarter, so he is in the concussion protocol. And then the Carolina Panthers lost their kicker, messed up his quad apparently during warm-ups, couldn't give it a go. Looks like he's going to be out for 3 weeks. So that's interesting as we're moving forward with some bets here. We've seen how bad some of these replacement kickers have been, so I can only imagine what they're going to be scraping up on the bottom of the kicker barrel there. And then also we have Julio Jones. Man, that guy cannot just stay healthy and stay on the field. He is going to be back, ended up messing up his hamstring again, and looks like they're going to shut him down for the rest of the regular season. So there could be some value in some Titans receivers. And the Pat Freiermuth got hit in the head there as he bounced off the grass. It looks like he is going to be in concussion protocol as well. And then Rondale Moore with the Lions messed up his ankle. Looks like he's got a grade 1 sprain, so he should be out a couple weeks. And then, Teddy Bridgewater. I was afraid for that guy there for a minute. I saw that, and I thought he wasn't going to get up from that one. That one was that was pretty brutal. So at least glad to see he is okay. Didn't have any kind of major injury. Looks like he's going to be in concussion protocol as well. But Chris, the big thing here in all of football is the Bucks. Man, they got to be reeling today. Godwin, Evans, and Fournette all were hurt last night. Man, what do you think this does here to Tom Brady and the Bucks moving forward as this playoffs here approach?
Well, you'd be a fool, or well, I would be a fool to say, it's Tom Brady. It's not going to affect him, and he's going to be okay. That would make me a fool. But in all honesty, I seriously believe that it's just a blip on the radar, right? Tom Brady is Tom Brady. We've seen him play and do this thing a kind of a million times when he was with New England, and hell, he won a Super Bowl last year with Tampa Bay. Granted, all these guys were healthy here, but look at who will be left standing. You got Ronald Jones, Rojo, Keyshawn Vaughn, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, Brashad Perriman, and I think Antonio Brown now will be activated. And briefly, let's say Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were fine. I wasn't even 100% sure that the Bucs were going to even bring back Antonio Brown, but now given these injuries, he's going to be in there. So it opens up a large portion of value in DFS formats, or if you want to place a couple bets for this game. And I know we'll get to that on the broadcast here later in the week. It's only Tuesday here, but now look at all these guys. As I said, Rojo, Keyshawn Vaughn, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller. Tom Brady is going to target them, right? Carolina, they're pretty good in terms of DVP. I believe they're 5th and 6th against running backs and wide receivers here. But how many times have we seen Brady through his career, mainly in mainly in New England, make stars out of no-name players? Right? He's going to make, I'm not kidding, he's going to make Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson look like superstars on Sunday against a very tough Carolina team. Granted, they're going in opposite directions in terms of record and playoffs and things along those lines, but Tom Brady will, without a doubt, just go on without a hitch. That's what he does. And to make it worse, Carolina's in for a world of hurt because Tampa Bay and Tom Brady lost last week. Do you know Tom Brady's numbers coming off of a loss back in New England? I don't believe, seriously, you can count on one hand how many times Tom Brady has lost 2 consecutive games. Normally, after a loss, TB12s come back with a vengeance, and I don't see a change in here. You know, Tom Brady isn't your typical human being, right? I talked about, it's this golden aura at the beginning of the show here. Everybody looks at Tom Brady with that aura. He's on a pedestal here, and again, I have no issues. It's not going to sway me from betting against Tampa or not stacking Buccaneers in DFS formats this weekend here. So to me, as you put it, Tampa Bay has the nastiest injuries of this week, but I'm telling you now, Tampa Bay, Brady, they're going to go off without a hitch against a very good Carolina defensive front.
Yeah, I mean, the only one in that scenario for me that I'd be really afraid about if I was a Bucks fan would be Fournette. So without Fournette, I think that just hurts him a little bit. But because of that, though, Chris, let's look at this Ronald Jones. I mean, Ronald Jones is going to be the guy that's going to get them carries. You got Giovanni Bernard, who I think they're going to be able to throw some balls to, but they're going to give that carries to Jones. And as you mentioned, I mean, against Carolina, it isn't ideal on paper. But I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be out in Week 17, that being Fournette. In Week 17, the Buccaneers play the Jets. So if you're in the Super Bowl and you can have the starting running back against the Jets, I think that's something you need to look at. So even if you're not looking at using Ronald Jones this week, I think you still got to look at maybe picking him up and maybe stuffing him on your roster for that Week 17 championship game. Because all I know is I always would want to have a running back against the Jets. But maybe look at a couple other guys here that we think are going to be in the consideration here so far this week to get picks up. I think Ronald Jones, he's about 65% of the leagues. I think you can also look at Samaja Perine as well. He's at 55%. He's in a lot of these leagues here. Gabe Davis, we've seen him score a couple touchdowns, especially without Manny Sanders yesterday or on Sunday. He ended up getting into the end zone, was really cheap these last week. Tyler Johnson, as you mentioned, with Tom Brady. Well, Duke Johnson, he's a guy there that got all those carries. That's because Gaskin is what I was kind of mentioning with Sony Michel and Henderson. I don't think Henderson's going to be able to come right back out. We saw that with Gaskin. What happens? Duke Johnson ended up getting all those carries. And then the Lions' own Craig Reynolds is on here as well. Earned himself a contract. So I think they're going to kind of keep this kid around, probably run him here in these last few weeks. So I don't mind having him as well. And then Tyler Huntley is a guy that filled right in pretty nicely for Jackson. There was some times there, Chris, I had to remind myself that was not Lamar Jackson when I was watching Huntley. He looked pretty good, running all around. So I was kind of interested to see, what happens with this kid moving forward, especially as weak as some of these quarterbacks have been. But, yeah, so for me, like I said, man, Ronald Jones is a guy that I think I would target if I'm still left in any of your fantasy circles. especially for that next week there. What do you think about any of them other guys, Chris? Anybody there you'd be looking to add? Anything else? Anybody I may have missed there in the guys that we want to pick up?
No, that was an outstanding list. And again, at this stage of the season here, you know, to be honest with you, Gabe Davis might already be gone. Samaje Perine might be gone, but Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, these guys are all on the waiver wire in most leagues, especially if it's a 12 anything more than like a 10 or 12 team league, he can be had. If it's deep, you know, if you were talking 14 teams, these guys are probably gone. But it never hurts to go and double check and see what we can get. And one thing I've done my whole, you know, fantasy football and DFS playing life, let's say I miss out on Samaje Perine, Gabe Davis, or Tyler Johnson in my seasonal formats, I'm going to get them all in a DFS line to kind of help stop the bleeding, to make me feel better here. So you're never out of options when it comes to fantasy football.
That is true. The ball's got to go somewhere, that's for sure. But Chris, another exercise that we generally like to do here on Tuesdays, we like to see if we can get a little head start on some of these Week 16 opening odds. It feels a little weird having NFL games on a Tuesday and then looking at the next week's opening odds, because we obviously have a couple teams playing today. But I was looking at it here, and a couple things that kind of stood out to me, just kind of looking. For one, I don't think the Eagles should be giving anybody 10.5 points. I don't care how bad the Giants are. I just do not think that they're a good enough team with Jalen Hurts to be giving anybody that kind of point spread, especially over 10. That just seems ridiculous to me. I think that one should be maybe around 7 or 8. I don't think it should be 10.5. But yeah, just kind of looking around here, that one stood out to me. I think another one that stood out to me as well was the Packers. Only given 7 against the Browns. We've seen the Browns have all these issues with COVID so far. So we'll see if any of them get back. We obviously know the running back situation there with Hunt being out. That affects them as well. But, man, Chris, I think that's a little bit too low, or that's not enough for them against the Packers. I think the Packers are rolling. They're going to continue to roll. They want that number 1 seed, and they want that NFC Championship game to go through Lambeau. But is there anything, Chris, that stands out to you here early in the week that we might want to jump on?
No doubt. There's a few I've already booked. I always love this, you know, the Tuesday broadcast, you know, here where we go over odds and lines here, because this is the time to lock it all in. Because I'll tell you this, Buffalo plays in New England on Sunday, the day after Christmas, 1 p.m. kickoff at Foxborough here. They're giving Buffalo 2.5 points. That seems crazy to me. New England is playing well, right there as it stands now. I mean, they are just about a shoo-in for the NFL playoffs this season. And Buffalo, they've been hit or miss, right? They're like dragging their feet a little bit, but to give Buffalo, you're giving Josh Allen points with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs here. I think that's a major snafu. And again, I'm going to write that down. And I don't know if there's a way you can kind of freeze this moment in time, Spence, and we'll revisit it here. But I would imagine when we get together and broadcast again over the weekend or Sunday morning live for the you know, Week 16 action, I could see this thing being a pick'em and or New England getting a point or two, which is basically a pick'em here. And one more thing I want to say, the Giants at Philadelphia, absolutely right. It's hard pressed that the Giants are getting 10 points. Granted, who's going to be their quarterback? Jake Fromm, State Farm. I think that's the joke. People, you know, ran that one into the ground. But one more, if I may here. Denver plays in Vegas, 4:25 on Sunday, day after Christmas. This one is basically a pick'em as well. Denver is getting 1 point here. And I'm going to say it now, as much as I've loved Vegas all season, and I really have shown it in my writing and my broadcasting here, Derek Carr and Hunter Renfrow, Zay Jones has been a pleasant surprise here. Only $5,000 on FanDuel, by the way. But Denver with Drew Lock here, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Judy Sutton. Is there a way here where we catch some of that late season Drew Lock magic where he just goes nuts, right? And he's singing rap songs on the bench and people are making memes and stuff from it. This is just around the time that Drew Lock comes alive and he'll sling 300 passing yards and he'll put together 3 plus passing touchdowns here. So to me, I'm all over this Denver line. You're telling me Denver, I can get Denver with a point, with Drew Lock going to make some magic happen with both of those running backs, Javonte and Melvin Gordon III, who I love here. Those are the few things I've noticed here so far. Early look at Week 16.
Yeah, one thing I noticed too is the Jaguars, who the Lions are chasing and try to get that number 1 pick. The Jags are actually favored against the Jets, or so. -1 against the Jets. I don't know how the Jags are favored. And then on the other side of that coin there, the Lions are getting 5.5 in Atlanta. And I thought that was a game when I looked at the schedule that the Lions could win, even when they didn't have their win. I thought that was one that they might end up winning. So I might have to lean the Lions there, especially teasing that up to 11.5, getting it over 10. I don't mind that at all. But we'll have to see as the week goes on to see where these spreads go here. But Chris, before we get out of here, is there anything else that stands out? Anything else we missed today we need to talk about before we get to our favorite part of the show here, the best bets?
Not really. I do want to say, obviously, I always say it. Thanks for having me here. And Spence, he's a fantastic producer. Easy's probably around here somewhere. But I want to say about this hockey being canceled here. I'm the biggest hockey fan I know, to be honest with you, in terms of DFS and betting here. It's a bummer that they've been canceled. Granted, it's only until the new year here, but it's just a realization that we should start taking this thing serious, and we go from there. I wish all the hockey people the best here, and I would imagine here the NBA is going to follow suit in some way. We always heard about, being in a bubble last season, and hockey actually did very well with it. So if you're into hockey and you're bummed out as I am, it's okay. It'll be back after the new year, and we'll hit it just as hard. And I'll be honest with you, between us, just me, you, and Spencer, even if nobody was watching here, I will say, as soon as I saw hockey was canceled, you know what my first thought was? Oh, the guys aren't going to have me on anymore, because that's all I do is talk hockey. And if hockey's canceled, they don't need me. Granted, I know that's not true, but I'd be, that wouldn't be me if I wasn't open and honest with everybody. I said, they're not going to have me on anymore because hockey's canceled. So I had to go a roundabout way. Thank you.
You're our Don Kelly. You know what that means.
Yeah,
you're our Don Kelly. You play every position. We got you. You're our Don Kelly at Woodward Bets. So definitely got to keep Don Kelly around. One of my favorite Tigers of all time. But one thing I want to bring up to everybody, I just want to thank everybody again for anybody who dropped off a toy for Stuff a Studio, or anybody else that may have donated some money. Just want to thank you again from everybody here at the Bets team. I know I was talking to Stick and Joey and a few of the guys, and they dropped off a whole U-Haul full of toys over there to Children's Mott's Hospital. And they said it was a really touching, feel-good moment. I know that made everybody feel pretty good. So just wanted to bring out another thank you to everybody. But Chris, we're at that time here for the favorite segment for the whole show here. It's like everybody's the favorite moment. Chris,
drum roll.
What do you got for the best bets? Yep. What do you got?
Well, as I told you earlier on in the broadcast here, today it's basically all house's money, right? We had week 15 on Sunday. That stuff is final. We had, yesterday's games were final. And if you did well, hopefully if you watch the show, you listen to Scott or me or Beer here, you've made a couple bucks, aka lunch money, as Scott always puts it. So today I'm very good with just standing in here and taking big swings. And if I whiff, oh well, it's house's money. So these bets, take them with a grain of salt. I'm swinging for the fences on this one. I love the idea of a double correct score here, which is like plus 400,000 here. $1 will literally net you $43,000 here. I love the correct score of the Rams and Seahawks game to be 24-21 in favor of the Rams. You can get that one for 22-0-0-0-0. And then you parlay it with the correct score, Eagles 17, Washington 14. You can get that one for plus 18,000, something along those lines. 17-14 in favor of the Eagles. You put $1, you'll get back $43,000. And if that hits, I'll stuff the studio again on my own time, on my own dime. I'll stuff it myself here. You have my word. And one more two-leg parlay I like here. I think we're going to get 2 defensive touchdowns today. One from the Rams, one from Washington. Rams DST touchdown plus 550. Washington plus 650. If you parlay those together, it's plus 4775. $2.50 will net you about $250, something along those lines. So as I said, I'm swinging for the fences. And as I also said here, I believe the Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles win, but I think Washington and Seattle still cover. It's one of those games. These two teams win, the opposite teams cover, and that's what I've got here for best bets tonight.
Sounds good, man. If that one calling the correct score parlay hits, I'm gonna ask to see if you got that sports almanac that they had in Back to the Future. So, but for me, for my best bets, I got 3 of them for you. The first one I have is a Sony Michel anytime touchdown, as I mentioned. It's plus 155. I do not believe Darrell Anderson is going to be involved that much. I also like parlaying that with the over 45 yards rushing. I think he's going to smash that easily. And then if you really want to get crazy, throw a Jordan Howard plus 330 touchdown in that one. But that would be a little fun, crazy parlay. But I also like the under 42 in that Washington-Philadelphia game. I think that game will be under. I like the first half under as well in that game, under 21. And then the last one I have here, I'm going to give a basketball. I'm going to go with the under in the 207 in the Pistons and the Knicks game. Usually we see the Knicks like to play defense, like to slow it down a little bit. And I think this is a perfect spot for that to come in here for us as well. But my favorite play is Sony Michel to get in that end zone at plus 155. So hopefully, Chris, when that happens, I'm going to bust out the money gun. We're going to have us some fun, and we're going to win some loot. So we got all kinds of different lunch money options for everybody today. But that's going to do it for the Detroit Bets Woodward Bet Show with Detroit Beastie. I am G Rising. For Spencer behind the glass, we'll catch you tomorrow.